Dad-in-law, a BMW, welcome to the family fleet. Keys glinted over the couch like baited hooks. The room tilted toward Arturo, toward the window, toward the red bow winking under the porch light. Phones flew up. A chorus of shutters clicked like rain on a metal roof. I kept my gift bag tucked behind my chair. A jar of orange marmalade I'd made last week. A new tape measure for Evan I'd found on sale. Small things, honest ones. "Walter," Arturo called from the kitchen, low and warm. "Taste this. Tell me if the knife's sharp enough." I followed the oven's hum into the doorway. He slid the ham toward me, pride in his eyes. "Looks right," I said, setting the fork. "Let the blade do the work." The knife whispered through the first slice. Clean. My hand didn't so much as quiver. Arturo chuckled. "Still got the touch." "Old habits," I said. "Straight cuts. Level rails." "Guys," Lana's voice carried from the living room. "Come outside. Surprise time." Arturo wiped his hands and drifted with the tide. I rinsed the knife, set it in the rack, and followed slow. A half step behind the applause I could already hear building. On the driveway, Evan raised the keys again for the cameras. A phone screen in front of me showed 12:25, 7:18 p.m. in the corner, as if the night needed proof. The BMW's dome light winked twice, obedient as a dog. "Dad-in-law," he said to Arturo, "welcome to the family fleet." More laughter, a whistle, someone saying, "Man, look at that bow." Arturo waved both hands. He looked like a boy who'd stumbled into a parade. I smiled for Arturo. Then I felt every stare waiting for my turn to glow in the light. Evan swung back in, arm around me, broad and generous. "Pop, you'll love this," he said, reaching behind the tree. Lana passed him a bag with a candy cane stripe. He handed it over with two hands, a show of respect big enough to be theatrical. I reached in, found molded plastic under tissue, pink pig cheeks, painted eyes, a plug in the belly, a label with a barcode wide as a grin. Lana clapped. "A seed fund." Evan laughed with her, easy as breathing. I pulled the stopper. Two crisp $1 bills slid out and fluttered into my palm. The wind caught one edge. The bill tried to lift and didn't. "That's thoughtful," I said, and made sure my voice didn't crack. Lana beamed. "Cute, right? Financial accountability." "Accountability," I echoed, tucking the bills back into the slot. "Good word." Phones were still up. The BMW blinked. Someone called out for Arturo to stand by the bow again. Evan turned with him and gave the keys a little jingle for the crowd that gathered at the curb. "Everybody, family photo." I had learned as a carpenter to measure twice, cut once. And when I couldn't speak without splintering the wood, I learned to swallow and mark the line for later. I slid the piggy bank under my arm and stepped back to frame the picture in my head. Arturo laughing, Evan owning the frame, Lana shining in the reflection of the hood, me off to the side, a man with a toy and $2. "Walter," Lana said, turning, "hold it up so we can see." "The pig?" I asked. She nodded, delighted with herself. "So cute." "Cute," I said again, and lifted the plastic to chest height. It squeaked under my fingers. Heartbeats knocked once, twice, heart pulse, clean and simple. Respect measured in cents, my Christmas dividend. Family tension found its footing the way small earthquakes do. Quiet until the cabinet doors rattle. "Kind of perfect for you," Lana said, voice honeyed. "How's that?" I asked. "Teaches saving," she chirped. "Dad says you get mixed up with bills sometimes." "Dad says that," I said, not moving my smile. Evan jumped in, grinning at the phones. "We'll keep him on track. All in good fun." "Good fun," I said, and the words dried on my tongue. Arturo tried a hand on my shoulder, there and gone, shame making him clumsy. The bow winked in the window again. The knife in the drying rack would be cold by now. I looked down at the pig's blank eyes, at the seam where the halves met. The plug sat flush, cheap rubber trying to be useful. I put my thumb against it and thought of measurements that never lie. 1 and 1 equals 2. $1 plus $1 equals $2. A ledger line, nothing more. Evan swung his arm around me for the picture. Smile, Pop. I did. My teeth made no sound. The phone shutter did. A car rolled past and slowed to stare. The BMW's hazard lights winked like applause in Morse code. Say Fleet, Lana said. Fleet, I said. When the group began to drift back inside for pie, I stayed a beat longer on the driveway, pig tucked under my arm, the porch light pooling around my shoes. I could correct them now. I could say a power of attorney is a wrench, not a deed. I could turn to the ring of faces and measure the cut I'd have to make. Instead, I swallowed my words and carried the pig back in under the twinkle lights, where the cameras were already hunting the best angle for a man with a bow and a man with $2. The pie had just come out of the oven when Evan raised his glass. To family strength, he said, eyes sweeping the room like he owned it. Laughter followed him, easy as oxygen. Arturo beamed. Lana clinked her flute against his. I lifted mine halfway. Strength means keeping promises. Evan's grin sharpened. Speaking of, remember that durable power of attorney you signed last month? From now on, big expenses need my okay. Safer that way. The room tilted toward him. I cleared my throat. It was limited. Management powers only. See? Evan said to the group, hand on my shoulder. Dad's been forgetful. I'm just protecting him. Lana leaned in, voice sugar. We'll keep him on track. He'll thank us later. Thank me later, Evan echoed. More chuckles rolled across the sofa cushions. The screen door squeaked. A neighbor stepped in holding a foil-covered pie. Just dropping this off. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Arturo said, rising. Before I could greet him, Lana intercepted. Walter gets mixed up sometimes, she whispered loudly, patting my arm. We handle the numbers for him now. The neighbor froze, smile stiffening. Well, enjoy the pie. He slipped back out, the scent of pecans trailing him. My pulse thudded. Heart pulse. My name was being filed under incompetent, family. Tension flared hot. Limited, I said again, louder. Not ownership. Evan spread his arms. Don't worry, Pop. Everyone here knows I've got you covered. Covered, I muttered, teeth tight. Lana raised her glass again. To protection, Evan echoed, loud enough for the whole room. I set my glass down untouched. The laughter rose again. My words stayed in my pocket with the 2 bills I hadn't shown them. Retention beat. The piggy bank sat on the side table, ignored, its blank eyes reflecting Christmas lights while the toast echoed. The porch light cast a hard circle over the driveway, cold December air holding its breath. Arturo strutted toward the BMW, bow still shining across the hood. Evan lifted the keys higher. Pop, you're missing it. Get in here. I'll take the picture, I said, tugging my coat tighter. No way. Lana's laugh bounced off the stucco. You're part of the fleet too. Phones raised. Someone said, smile. I felt the weight of the piggy bank tucked under my arm, plastic cheek pressed against my ribs like a bad joke. Arturo motioned. Walter, stand right here. Family photo. I stepped forward. The gravel crunched loud under my shoes, louder than the applause behind me. Closer, Evan said, arm heavy on my back. He angled me so the pig sat bright in the porch light. Perfect. I held it tight. The rubber plug squeaked under my thumb. I imagined sliding a cedar board into a vise, straightening the cut before the saw touched. Smile, Lana called. The flash went off. My mouth shifted a fraction too late. The picture caught me in the act of lowering the mask. Arturo laughed from his belly. Fleet shot, he said again, as if the phrase alone made him richer. The cameras turned to Evan, the hero's son-in-law with his bow and car. I stood still, watching the BMW lights blink like stage applause. Pop, Evan said, still smiling at the phones. You'll thank me later. Safer this way. Protection, Lana added, tilting her head for a selfie with Arturo. Isn't it sweet? I said it quietly, just enough for my own ears. Protection isn't ownership. Lana caught my lips moving. What's that, Walter? I shook my head. Nothing. The word stuck in my teeth. Heart pulse. All of this for a car, and my $2 of respect. The pig's blank eyes reflected the porch bulb. 2 bills rested inside, small and certain. $1 plus $1 equals $2. Math that didn't lie. Math that cut true. A ledger line, silent but ready. The crowd began drifting back inside, already talking pie and coffee. Evan posed one more time with the keys. Arturo raised both hands like a prize fighter. Lana laughed loud enough for the neighbors. I stayed on the edge of the driveway, the night pressing cool against my face. The pig squeaked when I adjusted my grip, as if it wanted to speak but couldn't. Family tension tightened again at the door. Evan, come on, Pop, enjoy yourself. No stress. Funny thing. Stress comes when someone else holds your wallet. He winked at Arturo. Good thing I've got it then. Lana chimed. That's why it's called trust. You should relax. Trust. The word burned. Inside, the laughter swelled again. Arturo held the door for me, but his eyes skipped past mine to the car, still glowing in the drive. I stepped over the threshold with the pig under my arm. In the kitchen, the knife I'd tested earlier sat drying in the rack. The cut it had made in ham was clean and honest. The cut in me tonight was not. Retention beat. I touched the pig's plug again, feeling the seam. A ledger was already forming in my head, and it began with a line worth exactly $2. The scanner beeped. The loaf slid. The total blinked green, then red. Sorry, sir, the cashier said, eyebrows knitting. It's not going through. Run it again, I said. She did. The terminal spit out a narrow line of text and a timestamp in the corner. Declined. 7:56 a.m. It looked like a verdict etched with a dull chisel. Maybe try credit, she offered. Same card, I said. Different stripe doesn't change the bank. She glanced at my basket. Bread, milk, coffee, a sack of oranges. Behind me, a cartwheel squeaked. A child asked his mother why the beeping stopped. I fished for bills that weren't there and found only coins and lint. Heart pulse, frozen out of my own bread. I can hold these, the cashier said softly, lifting the bagged bread and milk to a small shelf under glass. The thin plastic crackled. If you want to check with your bank. Hold them, I said. I'll be back. A man behind me cleared his throat. No, I kept my voice level. I pay my way. I walked to the courtesy counter and dialed the number on the back of the card. A tree of options. A human, finally. Security, a woman said, even, practiced. Name, I gave it. My card just declined. That shouldn't happen. I see a fraud hold placed by your authorized agent, she said, under our elder protection protocol. My, what agent? Your son, she said. He uploaded documentation and a care note. It indicates you've been mixing up bills. That's not accurate, I said. He has limited management authority, not ownership. I understand, she said, tone unchanged. But our policy defers to the presented authority. Family member can help, the cashier murmured as I ended the call, trying to be kind. Family's the problem, I said, a little sharper than I meant. She looked away, stung, and I regretted it immediately. The grocery stayed on the hold shelf like a display of what I was no longer trusted to buy. At the bank branch, antiseptic air and quiet carpet. The manager's door was open just enough to see his tie drape as he leaned over a screen. A clerk waved me forward. How can we help today? My card was frozen. I needed unfrozen. He typed my name, his eyes tracking something I couldn't see. Yes, sir. There's a protective hold requested by your agent. Let me speak to the manager. The manager arrived with his hands in his pockets like he didn't intend to use them. Sir, my son has a limited, conditional power of attorney. He used it to freeze my card. That's not what it allows. He softened his smile, but not his position. We have an elder fraud protocol. When an agent uploads documents, we defer to the authority on file. Authority isn't ownership, I said. Understood, he replied, meaning it in the way people mean good luck. If the underlying authority changes, we'll update our position. Meanwhile, I can't buy bread. Meanwhile, he agreed. My phone buzzed. Voicemail from Evan. I played it on speaker at the desk. Hey, Pop. His voice filled the space, casual, confident. I saw some weird activity and just locked things down so you don't have to stress. Safer if I handle big expenses, okay? Love you. The manager shifted on his heels, suddenly interested in the diplomas on his wall. The clerk looked at the counter. I spoke toward the glowing voicemail icon. You don't get to lock me out of my own life. Another ping. A text from Lana. He's just protecting you. Don't make this hard. I didn't answer. Family tension pressed in, 4 short lines of pressure. Dad, Evan said in the recording, I'll take care of it. You took it, I answered the empty air. It's best this way, his past voice insisted. Best for who? I said and thumbed the message away. Sir, the manager said carefully, we can note your dissatisfaction. But until the authorized status changes, you'll keep me from buying a loaf of bread, I finished. He didn't disagree. I thanked the clerk. I thanked the smile the manager used as a shield. I walked out. Back at the grocery store, the cashier glanced up as the door chimed. She didn't ask. The bread and milk waited under glass like a museum piece labeled Basic Dignity. I tapped the case once with 2 fingers. Still $2, I said under my breath. I left the groceries behind and stepped into the morning, already measuring the cut I'd have to make. The kitchen clock ticked like a metronome that refused to keep my tempo. I set the pig on the table and pulled the plastic stopper. 2 bills slid into my palm with a dry whisper. I smoothed them flat. All right, I told the pig. You're a ledger now. The phone buzzed. Mac's name. I thumbed it on speaker. Walt, he said over the faint clack of pool balls. You good? I'm upright. Come crash at the post. Cot's clean, coffee's not. I looked at the clock. 1:52 a.m. Not tonight. I'm writing something down first. You sure? I need to hear my own gears, I said. He grunted. Doors open if you want it. No questions asked. Appreciate it. We let the silence sit until it said enough. I clicked off. Another buzz. Text from Evan. HOA asked me to pass along this safety reminder for tools in common areas. You know how folks worry. Don't stress. I stared at don't stress. The words smelled like sugar on a bruise. I typed, noted. He responded instantly. Safer if I handle big stuff. Sleep, Pop. Family tension found its 2-beat rhythm. I handle my own life, I wrote back. We're protecting you, came the reply. Protection isn't ownership, I typed, then deleted, then retyped and sent. No dots appeared. Good. Heart pulse. $2 buys resolve. I folded each bill with care and fed them back into the pig. The plastic squeaked in a way that would have made Lana laugh. I let it. The refrigerator hummed. The clock coughed toward the top of the hour. I pulled a ruled notebook from the drawer, the same kind I'd used for lumber counts overseas when nothing but pencil and patience kept a barracks roof from sagging. Voice message from Lana slid across the screen. I didn't press play, but her caption flashed. He loves you. Don't make this hard. I set the phone face down. I took the pen, wrote the first line like it belonged to a blueprint. Management does not equal ownership. I underlined it once. The line looked level, true. The pig watched me with its blank eyes. I pressed my palm on its back and felt nothing but cheap plastic and a little weight. The phone buzzed again. HOA thread previewed a chirpy holiday safety reminder above a smiling cone hat emoji. I left it unread. I leaned back and listened. Kitchen sounds, my breath, the old clock's steady climb. I pictured the hold shelf at the grocery store, the bread and milk behind glass like a small museum of what I'd been denied, and felt the cuts straighten inside me. The minute hand touched 2 a.m. I closed the notebook, slid it beneath the pig, and turned the pig so its slot faced me. The ledger wasn't for them. Not yet. Retention. I clicked off the kitchen light, left the phone face down, and the words management, not equal ownership, glowed in my head like a pilot flame. Max slid a key under the roll-up door, and the VFW woodshop yawned awake with the smell of old pine. A box fan ticked to life. Didn't know you still had this running, I said. Kept it for the stubborn, he said, flipping a switch. Light washed over a clean bench. Yours if you want it. Mine? He lifted a cardboard tag off a nail, scrawled WP with a Sharpie, and hung it on the pegboard hook above the bench. Nobody touches that space unless you say. I put my hand on the scarred maple top. Flat. True. Feels like a promise. Feels like you, he said. You're more than whatever they posted on Facebook last night. I snorted. They'll post again today. Then we build anyway, he said. You going to see that lawyer? I am. Good. Bring your spine and your questions. He squeezed my shoulder once. You're not broken, Walt. You're cornered. Different thing. I left the pig in my tote by the bench, like setting a paperweight on a page I'd come back to, and drove downtown. Delgado's office sat on the second floor over a pharmacy. In the waiting room, a wall clock ticked loud enough to be a witness. 11, 10. Mr. Pierce, the assistant said. Miss, Delgado will see you. Delgado stood as I stepped in. Mid-40s, sleeves rolled, no nonsense. Walter, Elena Delgado. Sit, please. I sat. The chair didn't squeak. Good omen. You brought notes, she said, nodding at my spiral notebook. Just a line, I said, tapping the cover. Management isn't ownership. A corner of her mouth lifted. We'll get along. She sketched 3 boxes on a legal pad. Let's separate terms. 1. Power of attorney. It's a wrench. Lets the agent turn bolts you could turn yourself. 2. Ownership. That's the lumber. Who owns the wood? 3. Fiduciary duty. That's whether the agent used the wrench for your benefit, not theirs. He used my wrench to build someone else a carport, I said. Good metaphor, she circled box 3. We install a revocable trust with a trigger. If the agent uses authority for anything not clearly in your benefit, an independent fiduciary takes over automatically. No need to argue with a branch manager. The bank will have been pre-notified to honor the fiduciary on activation. How automatic is automatic? She glanced at the wall clock. 11:23 now, and back. A clause defines misuse. When it's tripped, your agent's authority suspends. The fiduciary steps in and instructs the bank. We'll give the bank a courtesy copy ahead of time. You keep living your life. Evan will spin, I said. He's already got the HOA sniffing around. Let him. Paper is boring until it isn't. You gather 3 things. Any bank communications about the freeze, any messages where he frames your competency, and any public statements about your supposed confusion. Chain of custody matters. Screenshots with visible dates, and 2 witnesses if you can. No evidence today, I said. Just rules. Only rules, she confirmed. And 1 sentence I want you to hear now. Next infraction activates the clause. She let it land. Don't poke him. Don't warn him. Let him do what he's already doing. Heart pulse. Steel snapped into place. My plan. Costs? I asked. Reasonable, she said. I care more about speed. We'll prep quietly. When the moment's right, we move in daylight. Her assistant knocked and set 2 coffees on a tray. No papers slid across the desk. No stamps. Just the plan. Family tension walked in through the phone as if it had a key. A voicemail banner from Evan crawled across the screen. You'll thank me later. I'm fixing things. Call me back. Delgado cocked her head. Pressure? The usual, I said. I hit call back and put it on speaker for exactly 4 lines. Pop, Evan answered, bright. I tightened the budget. Safer if I handle big stuff. I handle my life, I said. It's best this way, he insisted. For who? I asked, and ended the call before he could lace it with charm. Delgado kept her voice neutral. He'll keep escalating. Don't chase him. I won't, she stood. We're done for today. Go home by way of somewhere you feel competent. I've got a bench, I said. Good. Use it. And remember, she tapped the clock with her pen. Every minute after now is against his bad habit. The next time he overreaches, the clause fires. We shook hands. Her grip matched her eyes. In the hallway, the wall clock ticked louder, as if the building leaned in to listen. I checked my phone. A fresh voicemail pinged from Evan, unread. I put the phone face down in my pocket and let Delgado's words echo in the stairwell. Next infraction activates the clause. Retention. I stepped into the noon glare, chose not to play the voicemail, and headed back to a wood bench with my initials waiting above it. The clubhouse always smelled of burnt coffee and ammonia, the kind of place that dressed itself up with fake ferns and folding chairs but never fooled anyone. Fluorescent tubes buzzed overhead as the board called the meeting to order. I stood when they asked for new business. I'd like approval to reinforce the community fence. Posts are soft. I'll supply lumber and labor myself, no cost to the board. Heads turned. One neighbor whispered, "About time." Then Evan rose slowly, remote in hand. "Before we vote," the projector flicked alive. My hands filled the wall. Close-up shots of a cedar plank, sandpaper, fingers twitching under fluorescent light. He'd cut the clip to highlight pauses and shakes. Gasps ran the room like a dropped match. A woman near the door muttered, "Oh dear." Evan put on his guardian's smile. "My father's a good man, but tools aren't safe for him anymore. I think we can all agree, protection matters." "That's edited," I said, my voice level. "I've built more rails and ramps than you've ever bothered to notice." Lana leaned forward in her chair, voice syrupy. "We just don't want him to hurt himself. Or anyone else." Heart pulse. They called me unfit to drive a nail. The HOA chair cleared his throat, looking like he'd been handed a script. "Per safety protocol, you'll need to submit Form M14 with a capability clearance before any repairs can be approved." I narrowed my eyes. "There is no Form M14. "It's been added," the chair said quickly. "Rules are rules." "Noah?" I asked, glancing at the secretary. His pen scratched faster on the minutes. He didn't look up. Family tension flared under the fluorescence. "Evan." "Pop, we're protecting you. Please don't make this harder than it has to be." "Me." That fence stood 30 winters on my joints. 30. "Evan." "Times change." "Me." "Timber doesn't lie." Lana added, "It's just paperwork. You should be grateful people care." The murmurs tilted their way. A neighbor who had nodded at my offer earlier kept his eyes on his lap. The chair capped it. "Submit Form M14 by next meeting, or the request is denied." Behind him, the notice board screamed in bold black marker. "Next meeting, Wednesday, 7 p.m., a countdown with witnesses." I slid my hand into my coat pocket, fingers finding the piggy bank I'd started carrying. Plastic against palm. Not evidence yet, just a ledger seed reminding me who I was. I rose, thanked the board with a voice that sounded steady even to me, and walked past Evan without looking at him. At the doorway, I tapped the pig once against my thigh, like a gavel strike only I could hear. Retention. I told myself, low enough for no one else. The fence will stand, one way or another. The fryer hissed like rain on tin. Styrofoam cups squeaked in the parish hall as folks lined up for fish and coleslaw. A cardboard sign over the pantry door read, in thick marker, "Pantry opens 9:30 a.m., Saturday." I waited at the edge of the foyer with my thanks folded into 2 sentences. Shake hands. Say the word, ramp. Keep it simple. 2 volunteers drifted near the donation table, not quite whispering. "Did you hear? Walter's been asking strangers for gas money." "That true?" My cousin saw texts. Bless him, the other side, not looking at me. He's proud. I took a breath and stepped toward the mic. Evan slid in faster, the way he always does when a spotlight warms. "Friends," he said, lifting a hand. "Before my father speaks, he's going through a time." He held up his phone. "I want to show you something." The screen's glow painted his palm. No timestamps, just bubbles. He read aloud in a gentle voice that wasn't mine. "Could you spare 20 for gas? I'm short till Friday." He let the line float, his eyebrows doing the work. Murmurs stirred. A chair leg screeched across tile. "That isn't me," I said. "Those messages are spoofed." Evan kept his tone pastoral. "We're not blaming him. We're protecting him." He faced the room instead of me. "Dignity matters. So does safety. Etiquette isn't evidence," I said. "Put proof on the table or put the phone away." Lana clasped her hands like prayer. We just want to keep him from being taken advantage of. She didn't look at me either. Heart pulse. My name had been stolen, line by line. Family tensions snapped tight in public. Me. Read one thing I actually wrote. Evan, I don't want to embarrass you, Pop. Me. You already did. Evan, to the room. See what I mean? He's agitated. A few heads nodded for the performance. I reached for the mic. Evan shifted to block with a smile. I'll talk to the pantry board, he announced. We'll make sure Dad doesn't overextend himself. Ruth, the parish treasurer, moved through the crowd to my elbow. Her voice didn't carry. Walter, listen, she said, eyes steady. The BMW insurance payment didn't come from his personal account. It hit from Pierce Property Holdings, your son's LLC. That's his shell, I said, keeping my mouth still. I can't say more here, she whispered, but the ledger tells a story. There's a donation credited from that same LLC. The amount looks like a down payment. She glanced toward the sign. Pantry opens 9:30 a.m. Saturday. If you want people in the room, that's your window. Thank you, I said. On stage, Evan gave the room a long look of concern that might as well have been a bow. We all love Walter, he said. We'll keep an eye out. Keep an eye on the receipts, I said, too low for the crowd. Ruth heard it and almost smiled. A volunteer passed me with a pan of rolls, eyes slipping away as if I'd grown a new kind of fragile. Arturo hovered by the coffee urn, hands in pockets, pretending to check his watch. He didn't cross the floor. I set my palms on the edge of the folding table and steadied the tremor I didn't have. I came here to thank donors, I said toward the mic. I'll do that now. I spoke to the people who were still looking. 2 ramps, 6 months of Saturdays. You gave money, I gave time. Thank you for both. There was polite clapping, sparse but honest. Evan added a final ribbon. If anyone gets messages asking for help, please bring them to me. I'll handle it. I nodded, as if that ended things. Then I stepped back, the piggy bank a small weight in my coat pocket, reminding me that not every ledger lived on paper. Ruth touched my sleeve once more. Quick. Come by the office tomorrow, she murmured. I'll show you what I can. She turned away before anyone saw. Retention. I looked up at the sign. Pantry opens 9:30 a.m. Saturday, and pocketed Ruth's whisper like a nail I'd use later, leaving the room with a proof chain already sketching itself in my head. The VFW back room smelled of ink and sawdust, a mix of Mac's shop and the printer in the corner that never slept. He handed me a mug, half coffee, half whatever had been sitting on the burner since noon. Sit, he said. Let's get this lined up straight. I set the piggy bank on the table, beside the laptop. Its plastic eyes caught the light from the screen. On the phone, Evan's texts still glowed, the ones he claimed I'd written. Mac leaned over my shoulder. Screenshot each one. Show the header bar. Date, time. Don't crop. You want it ugly and obvious. The first capture blinked into the gallery. Friday, 9:12 p.m., stamped in the corner. I printed it. The printer coughed, tray humming as the page slid out. Heart pulse. I could see the nails lining up, ready for the hammer. My phone buzzed again. Evan calling. I turned it face down. Answer? Mac asked. No. If I talk, I warn him. If I warn him, he changes pattern. Best proof is habit, not surprise. He nodded once. You'll get him by letting him be himself. I hit capture again. Second screenshot, second timestamp, second hum of the printer. Delgado's voice came thin through the speakerphone. Chain of custody matters, Walter. Keep the originals on your device. Print immediately. Mark each page with a pen, your initials and the time you printed. That way nobody can claim fabrication. Receipts don't blink, I said, scribbling WP at the corner. Exactly, she replied. Family tension tried to edge in through the phone buzzing again. I ignored it. Mac raised an eyebrow. He'll think you're slipping, Mac said. He can think what he wants. The clause triggers on misuse, not on what he thinks. We kept working. Screenshot, timestamp, print, initial, stack. The piggy bank sat to the side, ridiculous and solid. I pressed its plug once and imagined it as the cornerstone to a ledger heavier than the car in Arturo's driveway. Max stacked the papers neatly, squared the edges with a carpenter's precision. I'll swear I watched you do every step. I'll swear those dates and times were live on screen. Would you? I asked. You'd do it for me, he said simply. The printer spat the last page. I set my initials, capped the pen. Delgado's voice again. Keep them dry, keep them flat. Next infraction, we're ready to move. I killed the line and sat back. Max slid the stack into a manila folder, pushed it across the table. Your arm now, he said. I touched the folder, then the pig, then the clock on the wall. Nearly midnight. Pantry, 9:30 a.m. Saturday burned behind my eyes like a finish line. Retention. I whispered. Ledger's nearly ready to open, as Max squeezed my shoulder and the printer tray hummed its last breath. The parish hall smelled of fryer oil and lemon cleaner, the kind of mix that clung to your clothes for days. Folding tables sagged under pans of catfish and styrofoam bowls of coleslaw. Children ran between pew-like rows of chairs, while older folks hovered near the coffee urns, waiting for announcements. A cardboard sign near the pantry door reminded everyone. Pantry opens 9:30 a.m., Saturday. Ruth adjusted the mic stand, ready to call up donors. I had rehearsed 2 sentences. Thank you, ramps, dignity. Before I could rise, Evan moved, a showman sliding into the beam of the overhead light like it was theater. Friends, he said, smile polite. Before Dad speaks, I need to show you something. He held up his phone. The glow lit his jaw. Text bubbles floated on the screen, naked of timestamps, stripped of context. Could you spare 20 for gas? I'm short till Friday. Then another. I'll pay you back, just need help now. Murmurs rippled across the tables. A man in a denim vest whispered to his wife, That's sad. She nodded, eyes dropping. That isn't me, I said loud enough to travel. Those are spoofed. Evans shook his head slowly, pity in his voice. We're not blaming him, we're protecting him. Dignity matters, and so does safety. Dignity is evidence, I said, and you haven't shown any. Lana clasped her hands under her chin, soft as a prayer. He doesn't mean to ask strangers. He's confused. We just don't want him to suffer. She scanned the crowd, fishing for nods. Heart pulse. All of this for a car, and my dignity as collateral. The family tension boiled on stage. Evan, Pop, let us handle it. Me, you've already handled too much. Evan, I'm trying to save you from yourself. Me, I built half this block, and they still bank on my name. Gasps scattered. A woman near the pantry clapped once, then stopped when no one followed. Ruth brushed past with her clipboard, leaning just enough. Walter, she whispered, the BMW's insurance payment didn't come from Evan's account. It hit from Pierce Property Holdings, your son's LLC. The parish ledger shows a donation from that LLC too. Same amount as the down payment. I clenched my jaw. You're sure? Her eyes were steel. The ledger doesn't lie. Come tomorrow, 9:30. Pantry crowd will be here. You'll see. She straightened, returned to her post like she had said nothing. Arturo lingered at the back, arms crossed, basking in the glow. He laughed at a joke near the coffee, but never met my eyes. His silence was louder than words. Evan raised the phone higher, the glow now a spotlight. If anyone here gets these messages, please bring them to me. I'll make sure he's safe. Safe from what? I asked. From groceries? From fence posts? Or from his own son? The mic squealed in protest. A child tugged his mother's sleeve. Whispers swelled like a tide, carrying me backward. I saw pity, suspicion, averted eyes. The room tilted his way. My words slid off like rain on wax. I stepped from the stage, not waiting for dismissal. Ruth's whisper rang louder in my ears than Evan's performance. The crowd could nod at pity. I had a ledger forming. Hours later, back in my kitchen, silence replaced the hall's hum. The stove clock blinked 2 a.m., steady, each pulse a reminder. I set the pig on the nightstand, tapped its side once. $2 of respect, I murmured, and counting. The clock kept time for me, not for them. The house rang like a bell that wouldn't quit. First a cousin, then a niece, then someone I hadn't heard from since a wedding in 2008. "Hey, Uncle Walt, you okay?" "I'm fine," I said. "Just maybe let Evan help tomorrow. Family sticks together." "Family already stuck me," I answered, gentle but not soft. The pig sat on my dresser, heavier with folded bills. I turned it so the slot faced the wall, the way you turn a photo you don't want to look at. Group thread chimed again. "Lana, let's all be kind tomorrow. Evan, I'll handle logistics." A thumbs-up parade followed from numbers I didn't save. I put the phone on the kitchen counter, hit speaker when it rang again. "Aunt and Uncle," two voices braided. "A reconciliation dinner," Aunt said brightly. Evan suggested it. "We'll host. No drama," Uncle added. "We love you, Walt. Don't make a scene at church." "I thanked donors last time," I said. "Your boy made a scene." "That was out of concern," she said. Heart pulse. Each ring felt like a nail. Family tension sparked across the speaker. "Aunt, he's protecting you." "Me, he's protecting his story." "Uncle, he does so much." "Me, he does it to me, not for me." Silence pulsed. Then Aunt's voice came back smaller. "Be kind to Evan tomorrow." "I'll be kind to the truth," I said, and let the line end on our breathing. The TV down the hall hummed at a low volume I hadn't set. I turned it off. Quiet returned like a friend who doesn't need to talk. I laid out tomorrow's shirt, good shoes, the notebook with management not equal to ownership on the first page. I checked a cheap pen twice, like a ritual that calms the hands you're told are shaking. A new voicemail banner crawled across the screen, Evan's voice in transcript preview. "We can fix this privately." I swiped it away. Mac texted a single line. "Thermos at your door. See you early." I opened the door. The night air smelled like damp cedar. The thermos leaned against the mat, dented, loyal. Back inside, I poured a little to test the lid. Coffee steam rose. I set the cup by the sink and let it cool. The phone buzzed again. Lana this time. "Please don't embarrass him." I typed and erased twice, then sent. "I won't." I didn't add, "He will." The pig's plastic didn't give under my palm, but the weight said I wasn't empty. I wasn't broke either, not in the way they wanted me. Another call. I ignored it. Another. I let it go. The calendar alert slid down the lock screen. Pantry, 9:30 a.m., Saturday. Aunt again, this time alone. "Walter? Please return Evan's call. He's worried." "He'll live," I said to the empty kitchen, then answered. Let her hear the scrape in my voice. "They hung the laundry out, not me." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done apologizing for being upright." I ended the call before she found a reply. I wiped the counter, not because it needed it, but because clean lines help the mind. Laid the manila folder flat. Checked the clock on the stove. 9:12 p.m. The evening still had hours to behave. I stood at the sink and practiced 3 breaths, the way we were taught to do before a cut. In. Hold. Out. It made the room sharper. Phone again. The group thread bloomed. "We're praying for you, Walter." I typed, "Thanks," then deleted it, then put the device face down. The pig stared at the wall. I stared at the window glass and saw my reflection with a little more spine than yesterday. At 10 o'clock, the phone lit the ceiling with another banner from Evan. I let it dim on its own. The calendar alert flashed again. Pantry, 9:30 a.m., Saturday, and the vibration rattled the thermos lid. Retention. "They're tightening the noose, one message at a time," I said to no one, and let the next call roll into voicemail. Mac waited on the sidewalk outside Delgado's building with a manila folder under his arm. Winter sun flashed off the pharmacy window. He tugged my collar straight. "In," he said. I breathed. "Hold." I held. Out. I let it go. Steady hands, steady paper, he added, tapping the folder once. Inside, Delgado was already on her feet. Walter, Mac. She cleared a corner of her desk. I set the pig on the blotter, stupid little face aimed at the ceiling, and laid Ruth's packet beside it. Delgado's tone went clipped and practical. Walk me through the chain. Ruth prepared ledger extracts, I said. Line item shows a donation from Pierce Property Holdings, same amount as the BMW down payment. She also flagged an insurance debit from the same LLC. She initialed each page? Delgado asked. She did, Max said. I watched. Good. Delgado stacked the pages square with 2 quick taps. We're keeping this boring. Boring wins. She slid a cover sheet on top and wrote, in clean block letters, Ledger Extract, Parish, Pierce Property Holdings. We'll notarize the packet and you'll carry it yourself. My phone buzzed. Evan. I declined, laid the phone face down. Heart pulse. For the first time, the ledger breathed louder than their laughter. Delgado glanced at the pig. He gave you $2? He gave me a ledger, I said. Then let's finish it. She rose. Bank notary is next door. We crossed the lobby. A door chime pinged. The greeter looked up, but Mac's earlier words were enough. We didn't slow for small talk. At the notary counter, a young woman in a navy vest smiled with professional kindness. Purpose of notarization? Parish ledger extract, Delgado said. Witness signature for receipt only. No content certification. Understood. The notary checked our IDs, arranged the stack, and placed a small metal embosser within reach. The bank clock over the teller lane read 4:45 p.m. and hummed like a witness. Please sign the notary acknowledgement, she said to me and Mac, indicating you appeared with these pages intact. We did. She compared signatures, satisfied herself, and then pressed the seal with both hands. The paper took the impression with a dry pop. I felt something settle in my chest. Not triumph, alignment. Delgado nodded, voice low. This fires the clause. My phone lit again with Evan's name. I let it ring, then answered on speaker for exactly 4 lines. Pop, I heard you're running around with papers. Let me look them over. Not yours to sign anymore, I said. Don't make this public, he warned. Paper may bore you, I said, but it buries you. I ended the call. Family tension tilted my way for once. Mac's eyebrows said, good cut. Delgado slid the packet into a clear sleeve and handed it to me. Chain of custody. You carry. If someone asks, what is that? You say receipts, nothing more. Receipts, I repeated. We kept the montage to its beats. Copies made, 1 sentence. Seal verified, 1 glance. Notary log signed, 1 line. No more numbers than the clock already gave us. Back in Delgado's office, she pointed to the pig on her desk. Keep your symbol close tomorrow. You'll use fewer words if you can hold something. I know, I said, pocketing the pig and the packet in separate places. The pig felt ridiculous and right. The packet felt like a level placed on a bowed board. Mac clapped the bench of his hand against my shoulder blade. Tomorrow at 9:30, he said, we'll stand where everyone can see. Delgado gathered her pen and pad. When Evan overreaches, and he will, the fiduciary clause activates. Ortiz at the bank recognizes it. Noah will fold on Form M14. Keep your voice steady. Let the paper do the cutting. I can do steady, I said. She looked at the clock again. Still 4:45 p.m. The hour didn't move, but the day did. I could feel it. Retention. I slid the notarized packet into my coat, felt the pig's dull curve against my ribs, and walked out under the bank clock's quiet hum, certain that the next time Evan pushed, the claws wouldn't blink. Arturo's house had the quiet of a stage after the audience leaves. Wrapping paper in a trash bag, lights dimmed, the sense of something left unsaid. I rinsed my coffee mug, set it upside down to dry, and listened to the refrigerator hum. My phone buzzed on the counter. Lana, please don't embarrass him anymore. Another buzz. Evan, let's fix this privately. No need to drag people into it. I typed nothing. The pig sat on the guest room dresser, Belly slot turned toward me like a little mouth asking a question I was done answering. Arturo shuffled to the kitchen doorway, arms folded. "You'll talk to Evan?" he asked, soft, careful. "I already did," I said. "He means well," he offered, eyes sliding toward the floor. "He means control," I corrected. He didn't argue. Sometimes silence is an apology you can't spend. The phone buzzed again, group thread pulsing with relatives saying they'd pray, which in our family meant they'd pick a side and smile about it. I flipped the phone face down and dried my hands on a dish towel that smelled like lemons. Heart pulse. I won't live where my name is a punchline. Family tension climbed a rung. Evan called. I picked up. "Evan, Pop, let me come over. We'll shred whatever papers you signed with that lawyer. I'll simplify things." Me, "You're offering a fire after you poured the gas." Evan, "Don't be dramatic. I'm protecting you." Me, "Management isn't ownership." I ended the call. An email pinged almost immediately. Subject, reminder, Form M14 due prior to next meeting. Reply all from Evan. "Happy to assist Walter with this. Safety first." I watched the subject line sit there like a wet sandbag. I didn't open it. Arturo cleared his throat. "It's late," he said, which meant, "Don't make noise. Don't make waves." "It is," I agreed. I walked to the guest room, pulled my duffel from under the bed, and folded shirts with the neatness that keeps a pack from shifting when a march gets long. The pig went in last, wrapped in a t-shirt. The phone buzzed again. "Lana, please just sleep. Tomorrow can be peaceful." I texted back. "It will be. I'm choosing peace." Dots bubbled, stopped. No response. I sat at the little desk and wrote a line in my notebook, then closed it and slid it into the duffel's side pocket. The house breathed its night air. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked twice and gave up. Arturo's shadow wavered in the doorway. "You going somewhere?" "For a while." "Take the guest key," he said, feeling useful. He picked it from a hook and set it on the counter. "I won't need it," I said. I left it where it lay. The stove clock in the dark kitchen read 1:56 a.m. I leaned my hip against the counter and watched it creep. Texts stacked like coasters. "Call me. We can fix this. Don't make it public." I turned off the banner previews and let the screen go black. At 1:59, I took a pen and a piece of plain paper from the drawer. My handwriting has stayed the same since the Army. Block letters that look like they expect to be read. I wrote, "Management does not equal ownership. W." The minute turned. 2 a.m. The digits pulsed once, steady. I set the spare key beside the note where a camera would see it if anyone went looking for a picture later. I pressed my thumb to the pig through the fabric of the duffel and felt the plastic give a millimeter and then hold. I opened my contacts and tapped. Block Evan. Confirm. Block Lana. Confirm. Block Arturo. I looked at him in the doorway. He didn't ask what I was doing. I pressed confirm. "Walter," he said finally, the word full of a lot of years. "I'm choosing peace," I repeated. He nodded once and stepped back. I slung the duffel, picked up the note and placed it eye level on the cabinet door with a bit of tape. Not hidden, not cruel, clear. I took one last look at the stove clock, 2 a.m., and the 4 glowing dots of the burner indicators under it. Time and heat, both in their places. I opened the door. Warm Tampa night reached in. The screen squeaked the way it always did. Retention. I stepped out, pulled the door closed behind me, and walked into the street with the block set and the note sitting under the kitchen light where anyone could read it in the morning. Mac poured coffee into the dented thermos like a man loading ballast. "Stand where they can't pretend not to see you," he said. "Aisle, 3 rows back." "I'll be seen," I answered. The pig sat in my coat pocket, a silly weight with a job. Evan rang as we crossed the lot. I answered so the words would have to find spine. "Pop, let's do a joint statement," he said, already smiling in his voice. "Keep it hopeful. Optics matter." "Optics won't save a forged story," I said. "Don't turn this into a spectacle." "You already did." Family tension tightened in 4 lines. Evan, please, stand with me at the mic. Me, you can have the mic. Evan, good, then we're aligned. Me, I'll bring the receipts. I hung up. Lana's DM pinged before my thumb left the screen. Please don't crowd Walter today. Heart emoji. I didn't answer. We reached the parish steps. The coordinator, usher's badge, clipboard, intercepted with a sympathetic tilt. Walter, quick note. Opening remarks have been reassigned to Evan, just for today. And could I? He touched the lanyard on my chest. Hold your volunteer badge. Optics. Mac's jaw set. I unclipped the badge myself. The plastic window popped against my palm and snapped free. Optics, I repeated, giving it to him. They're cheap. Only for today, he promised, pocketing it. I heard that last week, I said. Ruth slipped by with a stack of programs, voice low, pace unbroken. Stand left aisle, 3 back. Ortiz from the bank is here. Noah too. I nodded. The hall beyond her buzzed with fryer air and soft chatter. I tapped the pig once through the fabric. Private anchor, not a prop. At the door glass, my phone lit. 9:28 a.m. The digits glowed steady on the lock screen. Heart pulse. They wanted me quiet and grateful while they wrote my name for me. Mac leaned in. Breathe, then walk. I breathed. In, hold, out. The coordinator tried one more soft push. Walter, if you have anything to say, maybe save it for after the service. We just don't want confusion up front. Etiquette won't save a forged story, I said, this time for him. I looked past him to the room filling with the same neighbors who had nodded along to Evan's pity lines. He gestured toward the stage. Evan will open. You can keep the mic, I said. I'll bring the receipts. Retention. I slid the phone back into my coat, the 9:28 glow fading against the lining, and stepped inside with Mac at my shoulder, choosing a seat where no one could pretend they didn't hear me when it was time. The parish hall gathered itself like a held breath. Mac touched my elbow and angled me to the left aisle, 3 rows back, where Ruth had pointed. Ortiz from the bank stood near the pantry door with a folder. Noah hugged the wall by the soundboard. Evan already had the mic, voice warm as a blanket. Friends, thanks for coming, he said. Before we start, about my dad. Delgado stepped forward, calm as a level placed on a bent board. Before you start, mister, Pierce would like a reading. I'm his attorney. Controlled public reading, 1 packet. Witnesses present. She lifted the clear sleeve. Paper whispered. The wall clock above the stage showed 9:37 a.m. and kept its steady beat. Evan laughed softly. This isn't necessary. It is, I said, tapping the pig in my coat and then setting it on the table beside the mic for exactly 1 beat. I brought receipts. Heart pulse, all this noise, and I only wanted my name back. Delgado opened the packet. Exhibit A, Parish Ledger Extract. It shows a donation credited from Pierce Property Holdings, an LLC controlled by Evan Pierce. Amount matches the BMW down payment. The ledger also shows the BMW insurance paid from the same LLC. Ownership remained with Walter's trust. The agent's duty is benefit of grantor only. Ruth lifted her hand. Treasurer confirms the entries. I prepared and witnessed the extract. Delgado turned a page. Exhibit B, spoof text screenshots read aloud last week. Preserved with visible date and time, printed in sequence, initialed by Walter Pierce and witnessed by Mac, whose oath is ready. Mac gave one crisp nod. Exhibit C, she continued. Bank memos documenting an elder fraud hold placed at Evan's request, which froze Walter's access for groceries. The trust includes a clause. Misuse triggers immediate fiduciary control. Evan reached for the mic. Dad wanted to honor my father-in-law. Delgado's palm hovered him back an inch. Exhibit D, HOA emails where Evan urged a fabricated Form M14. Noah? Noah shifted, throat tight. I wrote it yesterday at Evan's request. It's not a real form. Consider it void. He wouldn't look at me, but he said it clear. Lana tried a soft rescue. We were protecting him. Protection isn't ownership, I said. Family tension edged to the mic. Evan. Pop, you're overreacting. Me. You're overreaching. Evan. I was trying to help. Me. You helped yourself. Ortiz stepped forward, voice bank steady. Under notice received from the independent fiduciary named in Mr. Pierce's trust, Evan Pierce's agent authority is suspended. The freeze on Walter's card is lifted. Reversal flags are placed on the LLC payments tied to the car. The room exhaled. Chairs squeaked. A child stopped fidgeting and stared. Delgado closed the packet. Clause triggered. Authority returns to Walter's fiduciary. Further use by Evan is barred pending restitution. Evan swallowed hard. I didn't mean. I was just. He looked out at faces he'd trained to nod for him and found no nods waiting. His voice thinned. Dad, I'm sorry. He put a hand to his eyes and missed. I took the pig from the table and set it back in my coat. Then I stepped to the mic and kept my voice even. All of this for a car, and for my $2 of respect. No one laughed. Arturo's smile fell off and didn't try to climb back. Ruth folded her clipboard to her chest like a book she cared about. Mac's chin lifted once. A carpenter's yes when the board finally sits true. Noah cleared his throat. On behalf of the HOA, Form M14 is void. Mr. Pierce's fence reinforcement is approved. Ortiz added, restitution processing begins Monday, 10 a.m. Lana tried one last thread. Can we just move forward as a family? We will, I said, once the ledger is square. Delgado tucked the packet away. This meeting returns to its actual purpose, feeding people. I stepped back from the mic and looked at Evan. He wouldn't meet my eyes, but he nodded at the floor as if the floor needed convincing. I'm sorry, Dad, he said again, this time without the showman's air. It landed with weight. Ruth raised the pantry roll-up. Metal rattled. People moved. Mac pressed a warm cup into my hand that I didn't remember him taking from the thermos. The room began to sound like work instead of rumor. I touched the pig through my coat, a reminder, not a trophy. Voices rose, the right kind. Cans counted, boxes slid. The clock ticked, steady as nails tapping home. Retention. I pocketed the pig and let Ortiz's sentence hang where everyone could hear it, the new rhythm of the room carrying us past the apology and into the work of making things square. The parish hall sounded like work again. Tables folding, pans clattering, the hum of people doing something useful. Evan drifted toward me with his hands open, palms up like surrender. Dad, he said, voice small, can we reset? Just us? Delgado stepped in beside me, unblinking. There's a restitution acknowledgement to sign. He glanced at her, then at the room that had watched him apologize. I'll sign. Lana touched his elbow. We love you, Walter. I'll take honesty, I said. Ortiz from the bank arrived with her folder. Mr. Pierce, freeze lifted. Reversals are queued. POA suspension notice has been delivered to your son. Restitution processing is scheduled. She lowered her voice. You'll see a confirmation shortly. Evan tried one last line, soft as tissue. I was trying to help. Family tension, contained now, still had edges. Me, you helped yourself, Evan. I'm sorry. Me, we're even when the ledger says we are. Delgado, sign here. He did. The pen clicked louder than it needed to. Max stood a step behind me, a post set true. Arturo approached, not meeting my eyes, piggy bank in both hands like a fragile loaf. This is yours, he said. It always was, I answered and took it. He nodded once. Apology without the word. Ruth slid a copy of the pantry schedule into a folder, then touched my sleeve. We're square here, she said. Come back when you want to talk ramps again. I will, I said, and meant it. We walked to the bank at noon. Sun on glass. HVAC hiss inside. Ortiz guided us to a side desk. 2 items, she said. First, the reversal queue. Second, our notice to vendors that Mr. Evan Pierce is suspended as agent, pending the fiduciary's direction. She looked at me, not over me. Your card is live. Use it today. Delgado kept it to beats. We'll log delivery, then let the clock work. No more clocks, I said, half a joke. Just one, Ortiz replied, smiling the smallest amount. You'll get an email and calendar event for the restitution window. We left with nothing stamped in our hands, only decisions that would move money the way truth had moved the room. Late afternoon, Noah met us at the cul-de-sac fence, minute addendum in his pocket, contrition in his face. On the record, he said, Form M14 is void. Repair approved. Sorry, Walter. Write it clean, I told him. I did, he said, and I'll swear to it. Mac popped the truck tailgate. He handed me a level, a box of screws, the drill that fit my palm like it remembered me. The post holes looked shallow, but the soil gave, and that's what matters. I set the new rail against the posts and breathed once. The air smelled like sun-baked wood and the faint salt off the bay. Evan crossed the street alone, shoulders tight. He lingered by the mailbox. Dad, if you ever... You'll finish the restitution, I said. You'll stack boxes at the pantry until the hours add up, and we'll talk when the ledger is square. He swallowed, nodded. Okay. Boundaries aren't punishment, I added. They're rails. I know, he said, though he didn't yet. He turned and walked back the way he came. Delgado's sedan idled by the curb. I'll file the revocation cleanup Monday, she said through the window. No surprises left. Good, I said. Mac held the rail while I set the level on top. Bubble floated, then centered. There she is, he said. Heart pulse, not victory, balance restored. The phone buzzed in my coat. I left the tool balanced and pulled the phone halfway out. A new alert slid up with the quiet confidence of a thing decided. Monday, 10 a.m. Restitution processing. I didn't need to open it. I'd seen enough screens. Doc beat honored and done. I slipped the phone away. The pig in my pocket knocked against my ribs when I squared my stance. I pressed the drill trigger. The bit sang. A screw bit into new wood and seated home with a small, satisfied whine. Evan's car door shut across the street. Arturo watched from his porch, hands in pockets, no bow on anything. Noah raised his phone and snapped a photo for the minutes, then thought better of posting it. Mac passed 2 more screws into my palm without looking. I checked the bubble. Still true. Retention/N beat. A calendar ping whispered the same line. Bank restitution. Monday, 10 a.m. I pocketed the phone and said to the rail, to the street, to the day that had finally straightened. Square enough to stand on. Patience did what anger couldn't. It returned my name in full. I keep the ledger's lesson simple. $2 isn't cheap if it buys a boundary. Tomorrow's work is fence and bread, not drama. I set the pig on the shelf and pressed the plug firm. Plastic clicks once. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.